What's up, everybody? This is Power and Science and Money Podcast. Now, before I get into the show, I'm going to try to explain to you why I call it the Power and Science and Money Podcast. Why? Because I think those are the two things that give you the greater understanding of how to operate in this monetary system. Because money gives you power. Now, if you have power, you can do whatever it is you want to do. You don't have to listen to nobody. You can go on a vacation when you feel like it. You can do the things that you want to do. You have the power. You have more control over your life, right? And having no debt plays a huge role in that. And we'll get into that later. But the science of money, everything moves naturally. When unimpeded, things move in a natural way. Now, if you understand how money moves and how the economic system that you're in moves, then you're able to predict better and you're able to, make sure that you, I guess, lower your risk of being caught up in the debt system in some kind of adverse way. Now, okay, let me look at my little notes right here. But so now that we covered what Power and Science and Money podcast means, I'm going to give it like a little small crash course in monetary system because I think a lot of us think that we understand money, but we really don't because we don't understand the foundation, which is the system in which we live in. So if you don't understand the system, you can't really you can't really maneuver in the way that you need to. So I'm going to break down a few basics for you. So what is the monetary system? The current monetary system that we all in, or most countries are in, is a debt monetary system. What does that mean? That means every dollar that is created based off debt. Now, let me give a small example. I'm going to keep all my numbers low just so you can grasp it a little bit better. So if we live in a community and I'm saying, okay, I need to create a monetary system. So I create a central bank called, for Americans, this is called the Federal Reserve. So I go to the Federal Reserve. I say, hey, I need to start a monetary system. Give me $100. They say, fine, I'll give you $100. But for every dollar that I lend you, you owe me an additional dollar in interest. Okay, already have a problem. Some of y'all probably already figured it out just by what I said. If I just borrowed money to create this money supply and now I owe them an additional dollar for every dollar that I just borrowed, how do I pay that dollar back? Some of you have already jumped ahead and you know the answer to that as well. You have to borrow that. And then what happens? It just keeps feeding itself. You keep going over and over and over and over and over till the debt just keeps getting higher and the principal just keep getting higher. But the debt outpaces the principal always in that monetary system. So you can't never substantially pay down anything because even if you paid off all of the principal, you have this mounting interest, right? So that's why I'm trying to teach everyone, or I advise everyone, that you need to outpace inflation. Now, what is inflation? Inflation is the growth of the money supply. So another small example, that same little community that I just created out of $100, right? My community has a $100 money supply. That's what everyone has. Now, me as a business, let's say I sell coffee. I understand the amount of money that is out there. So I adjust my prices for, to meet what people are willing to part with, right? So I might say that's 50 cents. I put the prices out there at at $1, nobody bought, 75, nobody bought, and then I realized that, hey, at 50 cents, I can still make a profit and my business will do good. And everyone seems to accept 50 cents as a good value for this, product that I serve. Right? Now let's fast forward 10 years later. Let's say the money supply has grown to $1,000, right? I then look around and I say, okay, the money supply has grown. I may adjust my prices to meet the new money supply. Why would I do that? Because I understand now that there's more money out there. Now I can charge a little bit more. Now, companies charge what the market would bear. What does that mean? That means that, I'm going to adjust my prices to what you're willing to pay for my stuff. So if you're willing to pay now $1 for that, that's what I'm going to charge. But the thing is, the problem with that is now that the money supply has grown, if your salary hasn't grown to meet the inflation, then you get left in the dust, or you get left back in the previous money money supply zone where 50 cents was enough to get that coffee. But now the money supply has triple, quadrupled. So you can't afford that coffee that you used to get because now you've been priced out, right? Because your salary remained the same over those last couple of years and it never grew. So I've moved on. However, your salary hasn't went up to match that. So that's why you have to outpace inflation. How do you outpace inflation? You outpace inflation through investments. You want your money out there earning you more money. You don't want it sitting in the bank because the money in the bank isn't making you any money and you get very low interest on it. Now, let me break down how the banking system works because this is why it doesn't work for you. And this is also how the monetary system also creates more inflation as well. So I got a little visual example because I know a lot of y'all people are like me and you are visual. So let's say I go to the bank and I deposit $1,000. Now, before I hit enter, I need you to understand that the bank has something called fractional reserve lending, right? And with fractional reserve lending, what does that mean? That means that when I put money in the bank can then lend out 90% of that money to other members of that bank, right? Some of you smart ones have already jumped ahead and said, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. How can they take 90% of my money and then give it to someone else? And why they only keeping 10%? Well, 10% is what they are obligated by the laws to keep in most cases. So that's what they keep. But you can still go to the bank and pull out that $100, right? But technically, based off the rules, they are legally able to lend that money out, based on your deposit, right? So anyway, you put in a deposit of $1,000, bam, they put $100 in reserve for you in case you want to come back and put a little bit of money because you want to go grocery shopping to do some other things, right? So they keep about $100 in there so that in case you want to come get some of it. That's why the bank doesn't have all of your money at the bank, because then they lend out 90% of that, which is $900 to this guy right here. They reserve 90 for him, and then they lend out 810 to this person, all the way down to loan number 15. And by this point, they have created, let me see here, $6,941 of money. They have created this from this $1,000. Now down here is the percentage increase. It increased on the first deposit by 90%, and it goes all the way up to 694%. That is ridiculous. And the money supply has increased by $7,941 from this initial $1,000. Now, because they keep doing this, it's artificially inflating the money supply. So the more money that you deposit in the bank, the more artificial money gets created, the more money supply comes out there. And then next thing you know, you can't afford that 50-cent coffee anymore because it's playing a part of this inflation system. And on top of that, you have the government borrowing more money, which is increasing the money supply even more, which is devaluing the money that you have in your pocket, right? Because when there's more of something, you value it less. It's like that. Like, a lot of people, they have shoes or they in Nikes or Jordans or Air Force Ones or whatever it is. So most people don't want the shoe that everybody wants. Look at that as the same way with money. When you have so much money out there, it decreases the value of it. So you want to have less money out there as possible because you want to stay where, you want your salary to still be a livable wage. Now, what has happened is that money supply has grown, inflation has grown, but people's salary has not grown to meet the money supply. That's why it's important that you invest in your 401ks, your IRAs, Bitcoin, silver, whatever it is. You need to invest in something that's going to grow quicker than what the money supply is growing at. You got to outpace inflation. You got to stay ahead of it. You have to invest so much and smartly to a point that you can live off of your investment. And this is so important in the later episodes. I'm going to break this down and it's really going to open your eyes to a whole lot of things. But I think if you understand what I just laid down, if you picking up what I'm laying down, you will understand that you need to, for your own well-being, for your children's well-being, and like Dave Ramsey says, to change your family tree, you need to have no debt. because if you have debt, you're always working to pay off debt. And on the other end, you have inflation growing, and then your salary's not growing. So now you have to you're siphoning money off to go pay off debt. And with the money that you have left over, you try to live off of, but the money supply is growing, inflation is growing and growing, and the prices of goods are growing and growing, but your salary isn't growing to meet that, and your money isn't working for you to make more money, and then you just end up so far behind that you can't catch up, and you need to find ways to catch up. And the best way to stay ahead, to catch up, stay ahead and way ahead and pass that mentality on to the others that and to your children, is to understand the power and science of money. And that's what you're going to get from watching my podcast. Now, today's episode was very basic, but I think it gives you the good base and foundation to move forward and do the things that you need to do. So let me flip back to the big screen. Oh, here we go. Okay, so if you understand those basics, you'll be able to understand everything that comes later on in these episodes. So this is the very basic, and I'm going to retouch and hash them every episode, but I think now you have the good foundation to follow me, because I'm going to be moving at lightning speed. So I want all y'all to understand, man. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, tune in every Wednesday. Every Wednesday I'm going to be doing this. Every Wednesday, I live in Japan, by the way. So every Wednesday at 10 p.m., I'm not sure what that is for y'all, but I'm going to be dropping an episode. They're going to be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, not too long. So until next time, this has been the power and science of money. Until next time, peace.